Your boy said, whoa!
So we're here today in Glasnevin with the HurleyFella. HurleyFella, how's he doing?
Hello, your boy said. So
he has a mic on. It's first time doing an interview. So we're down in Glasnevin Cemetery. It was officially opened on February 21st, 1832. What were you doing in 1832, Don?
I was out the back garden chasing the cats out of the garden and collecting apples for the dinner.
Fair play to you.
Long time ago.
So the very first person buried here was Michael Kearley, an 11-year-old boy from Dublin. So the next day the cemetery was first called Glasnevin. So when he was buried there it was just called Prospect Cemetery.
Did it say what he passed over for?
Sickness. It was cholera and stuff.
Very sad, very sad.
Yeah, very sad. So besides the famous people buried here, I think Michael Connell's is buried here. A couple of the 1916 rising people passing that. Luke Kelly's buried around here. He's buried in.
How many people are buried here? Do you know?
Roughly about 800,000.
800,000.
Yeah, but there'll be a lot of them that were put in mixed graves and stuff.
Is this the biggest graveyard in Dublin?
Yeah, biggest in Dublin. The oldest in Dublin as well, I think. Catholic at least. So it was originally a monastery, and it was opened by Saint Moby in the 6th century. The settlement grew around the monastery, as happens a lot of times with the old churches, and you know it was a time of the Vikings and stuff like that. And they were raiding the coast of Ireland. So the settlement was destroyed by the Vikings, but was later rebuilt and absorbed as a part of Dublin City.
Okay.
So we're here today, you know, as we're a paranormal podcast. So it said you hear phantom footsteps and disembodied voices, as well as people who appear out of time wearing clothing from centuries past. So what's your take on the paranormal? Are you a believer or are you a skeptic?
Oh, believer, 100%. Halloween's only around the corner, so it's the right season as well.
Yeah.
But it's an absolute privilege and honour to be here with yourselves on this
great to have you.
day. And I'm just looking around Glasnevin at the moment. They've turned it into an absolute tourist trap in fairness.
100%.
But that's what they do. And look, we're here to have a good look around. I haven't been. I was at a funeral here once before. Yeah. Other than that, I haven't really had a good look around at this amazing landmark.
Yeah, it is. It's a big enough place, though, isn't it?
It's gigantic.
First glance doesn't look that big, but we're going to move on to a couple of the locations now. So we'll move on to that.
When the Northern Irish Royal Navy captain John McNeill Boyd tragically lost his life in the sinking of the HMS Ajax in 1861, it's said that his loyal hulking Newfoundland, named after him, was beside himself with grief. Upon Boyd's interment in Glasnevin, the dog remained steadfastly by his master's grave, refusing to eat or sleep. Ultimately, the poor creature succumbed to starvation and passed away. Today, many cemetery visitors claim to have witnessed the enormous, immensely loyal creature, resting peacefully in the very spot where it had stayed by Boyd's grave. The ghost of a black Newfoundland dog has been frequently spotted at the St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin, Ireland. It sits at the base of a memorial statue to Captain John McNeill Boyd, who tragically lost his life in February 1861 while attempting to rescue drowning seamen at Dunleary. This apparition is believed to be that of Captain Boyd's devoted dog, which has also been seen lying on his master's grave at nearby Glasnevin Cemetery. On the night of Saturday 8th February 1861, the Irish Sea was swept by one of the worst gales of the century. The harbour at Kingstown, now Dunleary, was littered with debris and the wreckage of battered vessels. Scores of drowned bodies were found on the shoreline. Among those who helped recover the bodies and clear the wreckage was Captain Boyd, in command of the Coast Guard vessel Ajax. 3 stricken vessels, the Neptune, the Industry and the Mary, were attempting to reach the shelter of the harbour. The Neptune and the Industry were to be smashed against the rocks, while the Mary was wrecked further along the coast at Sandymount. Captain Boyd and some of his men were on the rocks trying to rescue the men from the stricken vessels. However, together with 3 of his men, he was swept into the sea by a giant wave. When a lifeboat from the Ajax later went to search for Captain Boyd and the 3 other men, his faithful Newfoundland dog was in the rescue boat. When Captain Boyd's body was finally recovered, it was brought ashore. and he was given one of the biggest funerals ever seen in Dublin. During the procession, his faithful dog walked beside the coffin, following it to Glasnevin cemetery where he was interred. When the grave was filled in, the devoted dog lay on top, refusing to be moved. Eventually he died of hunger. Shortly afterwards, the people of Dublin erected a memorial statue to Captain Boyd in the cathedral.
Such a heartbreaking story, and Captain Boyd, what a hero, what a legend. May he rest in peace. But you know, so unfortunately, this is what happens, and it's a very sad story, especially with the dog who wouldn't leave the graveside. So yeah, rest in peace, Captain Boyd.
Rest in peace, man. I don't know. He's in the middle of talking. Why would I interrupt him?
Me and Melissa are sharing a mic for this episode, so that's why I'm in the background.
Tell him
Captain Boyd.
What a heartbreaking story.
It's a really sad story. Where's the statues in the St. Patrick's Cathedral? Where's the grave?
That's St. Patrick. I think this
is the St. Patrick's Cathedral.
This is St. Patrick's Cathedral.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there's only one church, man.
Yeah, but I don't know if I thought I saw a picture of St. Patrick's Cathedral.
But yeah, such a heartbreaking story, as I said. The dog and all, it had everything in it. May he rest in peace.
So yeah, that was Boyd's dog. Yeah, a tragic story. Have you ever seen a Newfoundland before?
No, I can't say that I have.
They're a big dog. I'll show you an image in a minute. But it's quite a large dog. They're almost like bears.
And very loyalty as well.
Very,
it's a
very,
great
very
story of loyalty.
Yeah.
You won't get that amongst humans nowadays. But
No.
even with dogs now, as I say, that dog starved to death.
Yeah. He wouldn't move.
Very sad. Very sad.
Very sad. We were outside the cathedral itself, and I think Glasnevin is actually one of the oldest graveyards still running, and as we saw, there was a procession going on, so we moved on now down to a separate part. I think they call it the Fairy Woods.
Okay.
Because of the trees, the holly trees and stuff. There's a famous place, I think, up in Donegal, where basically they call it the Fairy Walkway. It's like one of the most creepy drives you can take, because it's literally the whole stretch of the road is pitch black, and it's even when it's daytime.
I wouldn't want to be here in the dark now, I'll tell you that.
No, that's it. And you'd have undertakers here till all hours as well, doing the work, because I think this shuts at 5, doesn't it? So yeah, you'll get a I'd say a few freaky
what happens
moments.
if you get locked in?
I think they let you out the side of the gates. There's a squirrel.
There's a squirrel. He's alive.
There's the spirit of the dog that they're possessing her. So we move on now. So one of the popular stories, right, from the, as you know, the John Cavanagh's The Gravediggers around the corner. So during World War II, a man drunkenly stepped outside the Gravediggers pub into a foggy, stormy night. Right. It was raining heavily, so he decided to cut through the cemetery itself towards the Finglas Road.
Just get a shortcut?
Yeah, just shortcut.
Madness, absolute madness.
That's that. I'd have went
the long way around. Long way around.
Yeah,
and what happened anyway?
So that freaked him out. He was going through the oak, and this was a time of vast blackouts and electrical charges, due to the war, and the visibility was already low because of the storm and stuff like that. So he could just see in front of him when he saw a taxi just in the fog, right? So he runs towards it, and he sees the doors open. So he's like, great, the taxi man is there. So he jumps in the car and starts driving, and he's cleaning the rain off himself, and he looks up and he says to the driver, thanks very much, and he looks up, the driver's not there, and the car's driving on its own, right? So he scrambles to the exit, the door's not opening, he can't open the door, right? So eventually, because he's putting so much weight on it, he falls out of the taxi, and he runs back through the cemetery, back to the pub. So as he gets to the pub, he's telling the people, and he's they're trying to calm him down. Yeah. He sees a man climbing into the same taxi, and he runs out and yells a warning, don't get in that taxi, there's something wrong with it. And the man goes, sure, I know, I've been pushing it since Finglas. Yeah, man. So this is the the things that we try and highlight, even
a shortcut through a cemetery.
So that's it. He thought everybody with these paranormal jokes are always 100% like, that's 100% paranormal, but that's the explanation is there. And he'd have never, if he hadn't have gone back to the pub, he'd have never known. He'd been telling people ghost taxis and stuff like that. Yeah. So we try and look into the stories of them, and verdict, give our own verdict, investigate it. But if we just smell You know what I mean? I don't want a corpse in the graveyard.
Yeah,
if we smell something dodgy, we'll talk about it. So that's one of the more popular ones. And for years, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I'm seeing ghost taxis and stuff like that." But,
just don't go through the graveyard.
That's it. Yeah, and you're gonna be freaked out.
Take the long way around.
I was just chasing a squirrel, but I heard of a ghost taxi. It's in like a different country. I think we could do an episode on it. They don't have taxis in a certain area anymore,
right?
Because every time.
Sorry. No, what are you doing? You give me a hand.
Because every time someone gets in a taxi, like the taxi driver, taxi drivers won't go in that area anymore. They'll go in the taxi, someone will come in, and then just before they put them to their location, they disappear. So like ghost people instead of ghost taxis are getting on.
Right, so that squirrel you were chasing, was that a ghost squirrel or was that a real squirrel? So you just don't know anymore.
Right there.
Right, it was.
Quick, ask him for an interview.
He's right there.
Yeah, that's nuts, get over here. Yeah, so you just don't know. As you say, anything can happen in here, and it's very easy to suspect that something is a ghost or not a ghost. And as you said, the taxi story is a great story in regards.
We were chasing squirrels. There is stories of spirits manifesting themselves as animals, but I don't think he is. I think he's just a little fella.
You wouldn't know.
But you wouldn't know that could be somebody's great auntie.
Well, they always say robins and
robins are silent spirit.
You know what I mean? So there's animals there, and even through pets, through dogs.
Yeah.
You wonder why dogs are so loyal to humans, as you alluded to the previous story.
Yeah.
Dog, as they say, is a man's and now a woman's best friend.
Yeah.
Is a dog, you know.
Yeah, that's it. So as Hurley was saying there, what were you saying? Robin is a sign of it?
I was just talking about even robins. Lots of stories about robins being a loved one from above and what have you. And what do we just see now?
A robin literally just lands.
Yeah, so coincidences is very, very high already, and we're only in here half an hour.
So I think what's actually creepy is, see that little wooden you hooked there?
Yeah.
That's actually the story that we're doing next, which is weird how we just ended up here.
Oh no, that's spooky.
Yeah, that's a common occurrence with people.
The term Saved by the Bell has a disturbing origin. Before the 20th century, people were sometimes buried alive. While terrifying, this practice was also true. Apparently, back then, we didn't have the means to accurately determine if someone was dead. To address this, bells were attached to the strings and buried with the person. This way, the individual could ring the bell and be dug up from an early grave. Charles Higgins knew that were his wife to die, he would receive her will of $500, which back then was a small fortune in the 1800s. So he bribed the local doctor to confirm Maria's death and then arranged for her funeral in Glasnevin cemetery. Turns out Maria wasn't dead at all and the grave was empty. When they were found out, all involved in the crime were charged, but Maria was let off the hook because she acted under her husband's will. Then, when Maria actually died in 1871, she was buried in Glasnevin for the second time. A similar story coming from Northern Ireland told a more sinister version of twice buried Mary. Mary, a woman in the 1700s, died of a fever and was pronounced dead by the local doctor. She was moved to the mortuary funerals at the time. Were done quick to stop the spread of pestilence. The undertaker had been awake late at night and heard a bell ringing from a nearby grave. Usually he attributed it to the wind and ignored it, but this time it had a rhythm. Upon investigation, he noticed the sound coming from a freshly buried woman. When he got closer, he heard scratching and crying below. Several hours later, Mary awoke in her coffin. After falling into a coma from a high fever, the cold of the earth returned her temperature to normal, and she began getting better. Once dug up, Mary returned home that night, and upon her husband opening the door, he had a heart attack at the sight of his wife and died on the spot. She died at the age of 80 odd, and her grave is enshrined. Mary died once, buried twice.
That is absolute crazy, and one of my biggest fears is being buried alive. Just the thought of it. Yeah, oh my God. And then the fact that it was done as a scam, and in the end they buried her then again as a mistake. And then when she...
different girl the second time.
Oh, was it?
The second time was a different girl, but the first story was buried. Still, and then they came back for her later.
Right, but even the girl that was in the fever, and when she came home and then he died, that is just absolutely crazy. But yeah, buried alive. And we were actually looking for Mary's grave, and we're actually standing right beside it before we actually went to look for it. And to put it into context, we're actually in a huge cemetery, so the fact that we were just there that's just crazy.
It's right next to us, like literally
100%.
graves over.
Yeah, mental.
It's interesting. They have the whole bell system set up, but when he hears the bell, he's like, "That's probably nothing."
Because of the wind back then. Sorry, I'll take the mic off you there, Mel. So the wind back then, you know, the bells weren't set up to a system, so the wind would just blow the bells.
Oh.
So he'd be like, that's why ended up getting rid of them then, because it just wouldn't work, and also the wires would get caught.
Oh yeah.
Feeding up through the tunnel, so it wouldn't always work.
But even going back to the scam for the few quid and £500 or whatever back then,
it'd be about 5 million now. I think
probably
500,000
millions now. So even that now hasn't changed in real life with the scams. People looking to scam a few quid.
Would you do that though? Would you bury yourself?
No, she didn't bury herself.
She did. She was buried. They buried her and then came back for her later, and then the undertakers found the grave empty. So you're like, look, this is hooky.
Few quid is a few quid.
The
but
housing crisis is happening.
Don't want to be buried alive. As I said, I have nightmares about being buried alive in the past. You just
certainly one of them.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, the claustrophobia and stuff.
Did you see the thing there was a couple of years ago in Dublin? A fireman lost his life, and what he did was he did a prank.
Yeah.
And he put a radio into the coffin, so when everyone was at his funeral, the radio started, hello, let me you. And he was knocking. I went viral, went worldwide viral, and everyone was laughing. Yeah. So normally, what's associated with funerals is sadness. It's crying. But yeah, he made sure that everyone was laughing at it. Priest, shut up you and let me out, and it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And anyone listen to this, you can just YouTube it. Tala funeral, buried alive or whatever, fireman, and absolutely incredible. But yeah, that's the story there.
That's the story. Yeah. So yeah, as I said, the weathering on some of the gravestones, you know, it's immense. You can see the age just off of some of the markings and stuff on them. And a story actually of one of the more like the ancient graves we passed it is there's a statue of the Virgin Mary, and there's a woman who was returning from seeing her relatives, and she was going on a walk. She said she got these kind of like a flash of cold on a warm summer day, and she was getting goosebumps, and she kept hearing footsteps walking up and down the pathway. So she turned to investigate, and she was kind of like, where is this? And she looked up and she locked eyes with the statue of Mary, whose eyes were previously closed, and she thought it was just like an illusion. So she was walking up and down, and it was following her, like looking at her. And there's in Glasnevin itself, you have to do some digging, I found, when we were writing this episode, but once the history of this place alone is just immense.
That's what they do when they're burying people, don't they? Do a bit of digging.
That's it. Yeah.
And as you said, the wear and tear, and you turn around, and then obviously, like, the money spent on graves nowadays, you can see them.
Yeah, 100%. Some of them are beautiful there.
Beautiful they are now. They are beautiful, you know, but it just shows you the difference in an era.
Yeah, that's it. And there's a lot of interesting people. Obviously there's famous people buried here. There's Eamon de Valera, there's Michael Collins, as we said, there's James Pearce is down here, Luke Kelly from the Dubliners is buried down here. So there's a lot, but I think a lot of the interesting stories actually come from the regular, the common folk.
Exactly,
There's a few stories. There's a story of actually, unfortunately, there was a man, the first elephant ever in Dublin Zoo. Escaped nearby here and tragically took the life of a man named James. He's buried up the front, and he was crushed by the elephant, and there was they had to get the English Royal Navy in because they didn't know how to euthanize the elephant because it was on a rampage. And that's like an interesting, I think one of the more controversial stories is actually in 1916 a 1-year-old baby was unfortunately had his life taken by British soldiers during a battle. He was in his pram, and it was never put in the papers, it was never put in that, and the excuse given was that it was only one death that day, and they'd like to report them in mass. So, and there was military, you know, when they call military action, I can't remember the word for it. So basically the military takes over, and they're kind of like the police, the law. He was only allowed one other person to carry his coffin, and that was his grandfather. So that was in Jordan 1916, that was kind of a lot was going on obviously back then, you know. A lot was going on. We were restricted from obviously the funeral practices and stuff, and a lot of it I think he actually ended up being reburied, the child did, because he didn't get a fully Catholic burial.
Very sad.
So it is sad. We're in obviously you're going to get a few sad stories.
Yeah, a lot of sad stories where we are.
There's a lot of, I think, stories that need to be highlighted because that's stuff that'd be forgotten, at the time, because it wasn't in any documents, censuses and stuff.
Yeah, pretty much now everything's historic and...
Yeah, that's it. It's over 100 and something years now.
Unreal.
2016, there was a woman doing an article on the graveyard. She was walking around the area of the Lynch 1842 tombs, and she heard a rattling noise from inside. She also said she heard footsteps. We're outside it now, just looking at the door. There's two holes that you can sort of peep in, but there's nothing really to see.
And it says Lynch 1842 above.
Yeah.
And what's onto the left side of...
Onto the left side, there's a tunnel with a plastic chair in it, a gutter on the ground which has been filled with rocks, but there's some liquid on it. And there's also a window, but the window is filled with rocks.
You're thinking, normally family members come to see their loved ones deceased and they'd sit in a chair, but you're looking, the 1842 is a long time ago.
Yes.
So who's sitting in that chair is kind of in my head, and the chair even looks really old. So
no, the chair, I don't know, the chair is intact.
It's falling apart
at the top, but the fact that it's not weathered or damaged too badly, it's slightly...
It's taken cover in this tunnel, so someone's sitting in this tunnel. The easy answer, is a security.
It's a plastic folding chair, so that kind of...
It's a creepy echo.
Dates it to a degree.
Yeah, it's this really freaking me out now.
It's actually cold in here.
The fact that Melissa just said there was an article written a few years back of when this woman was walking by. If I start here walking and banging it, I'm gone. But you have... there's a real chill.
Yeah, it's gone ice cold.
It's ice cold now, and it's actually a warm day.
Yeah, it is very mild.
This is really creepy, and I wouldn't want to be here in the dark, so we're actually here in the daytime.
Actually, while you were speaking.
Or put the mic up to her.
But that is a very
If you drop that mic, you're paying for it.
creepy chill. Coming out of that tunnel, that's... That shouldn't be that cold. It shouldn't be that cold.
Especially because it's not that far in. Now we're out. It's mild. Especially for how... Sorry if I was far away. For how deep in it is.
The one next to it has full information of the deceased. Cornelius Crotty of Newlands in this county estate, who departed this life 2nd of December 1841, aged 72 years of age, and also his, what's that say, relict, is it?
Yeah, his relict. Alice Stewart,
so she's here as well, from Carlow. She died in 1858, so she died 11 years after, aged the exact same age.
That's actually crazy.
Yeah, exact same age. Likewise, Stuart Crotty, is that his son, is it?
Yeah, that'd be his son.
Leeson Street in Dublin, 1867, and 11 years after.
The mother.
So look, there's 11-year gap. Now he didn't die 59 years of age. So obviously
1814.
I'd say there was a family tree thing here, and someone, because it's the only one that a few of the tombs have a bit of information. And obviously,
I heard someone talk.
Crotty passed away a year before Lynch.
Yeah.
So these are all
kind of the old.
Why did they choose tombs for? Why was the...
To be put with your relatives, it was if you had a few bob.
So the family can go together.
The families together in their coffins. A lot of the time it was placed on top of each other. Usually some of them cap out at about, I think, 4 around in this little circle.
I never experienced a chill like I did there in that tunnel. That was creepy.
That was creepy.
It was,
and we're standing out now, out of the tunnel.
And I'm actually shivering. I'm actually shivering as I'm walking out. I've never in the heat.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was. It's ice cold down there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But if you want,
so that was
saddest grave.
Oh man, that was
here. So you'd be able to bring the buggy down if you want. It's of a mum and her 4 daughters. So very sad. But now every grave is sad. But they lived out in Dunleary, and they were very wealthy. And every morning the maid went down to the shore to get mussels, and she'd bring them back and she'd cook them up. But unbeknownst to her, this particular morning a sewerage pipe had cracked and it contaminated the whole mussel bed, and she fed them all, and the mum and the 4 daughters all died. And the headstone in the shape of the mom, like an angel, and the 4 daughters are the little cherubs in her wings. So again, now just again, I don't want to.
Yeah, no,
press you now, but
yeah, no, they worked off a schedule because they done their research, and we came in and we just done a Lynch tomb down there. There was a story of in 2017 there was a person there, a journalist, and they heard banging and they heard voices. So I walked in that tunnel down there now, and I'm still suffering with this cold, this chill.
Okay.
And I'm going, oh, this is, you know.
Okay.
So we're kind of doing that, and then there's another one to do here somewhere, and I think that's probably.
Well, this next path up here, that they call that the murder mile.
Oh my God.
Because
all murders.
It's all murders. So
right.
So
right. That has to go in, anyway.
Who have you got? That next junction. If you take a right, and then you come to the next kind of. There's a left turn. It brings up to the wall, but before there's a left turn. You'll see a little kind of grave. It's for the DMC, the Dublin Metropolitan Police.
Right, okay.
And the very last, there's another headstone for a guy called McAniff, I think, McAniff or Lahiff. And he was the policeman murdered by Countess Markovich.
Oh, yes.
And then she's buried over here, and he's there. And then if you go up a little more, there's a grave to Harry Potter. There's actually a headstone, a guy called Harry Potter.
Right.
He's on it. Yeah. There's a guy back here called Hatchet, which I kind of is cool. And then when you go up to the very top, you'll see the tower, the grave Watcher's Tower. And before that, there's a grave called O'Higgins. And he was the guy back in 1921 who, during the Civil War, he had 4 guys executed from the Civil War. One from Ulster, Connacht, Munster and Leinster. He was a Free Stater, and a few years later the IRA in 1927 took him out, they murdered him. His grave was there.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
There, so.
Thanks very much for your help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, what time is it? And I have an idea.
So yeah, we were the Hurley fella's gone out to pay the parking, so we're gonna have a chat. Me and Melissa, we have our mics now.
Yeah.
So we're on a place. We were talking, as you should have heard in the episode. One of the locals, walking through, was giving us a bit of information. Was completely the dog. We give the dog a shout out. We're on Murderer's Mile, as he says. It's called, which is basically where all the people who are victims of a murder. And I'm just again like a crazy chill. As I said that, this is where the Murderer's Mile would have been, where unfortunately the people would have been, murdered. He told us of a grave. We went past it, which was, we stopped by there. We'll talk a bit about, while we're in there's the grave there in Mansfield, he was saying.
Yeah.
So, a victim of unfortunate circumstances. He has a statue of Jesus carrying his cross.
The squirrel's back.
The squirrel's back. He is following us, because that's the same squirrel with the red on the top. Us. He has a grey body with a little red patch on his head, and red hairs on my ma's side. So I think my great grandmother has red hair. So I'll say that's little me little great grandmother. So we'll talk a bit. We're coming up. Just ahead is actually one of the towers, the bell towers, and what they were used for. Mel, do you want to give
They were used by the grave diggers to watch out for grave robbers.
Yeah.
I believe it was called the Resurrectionist era.
Yeah.
Where grave robbers would rob graves. It was during a very poverty-stricken time.
Yeah.
People would be very down on the luck, looking for money. So they would rob graves. They would give the bodies to universities, to doctors.
Used as cadavers, right?
Yeah, used as cadavers to
for the joint medical
research and figure stuff out about the human body. It was a crazy time, I believe.
Yeah, I think that era inspired. That's a similar era to the Frankenstein novel, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that.
Would that have been out, or would it have been before?
I'm not sure.
Well, it's a connection through that.
There's grave robbing in it.
Yeah, 100%. That symbol there means that they were in medicine, isn't it? The pharmaceutical sign. But yeah, it's very sad. I think it's good to highlight the history of the people who are buried here, because I think in Ireland, I think we to a certain degree have a great respect for those who passed. And I like to hold we like to hold that that kind of moral and that standard. You know, we're being very respectful. We're not touching the resting places. We're watching our language and stuff. We're not, you know, messing them about. But yeah, that's what they used to use the for the. There's actually a story. I don't know if you've heard of. German chap. Yeah. Sorry, we saw a dog, so you know, you understand. There's a story about a soldier who went off, and I apologise, I don't have his name, but he used to work in the British Brigade. Jordan, speaking of boards, this story is the two parrots. So this was in 14. So he worked in the British Brigade. He was from Dublin. He was an officer, and he went over and did peacekeeping. You know, with the British it would have been in the, you know, the Congo and a lot of exotic places. But he had a love for exotic animals. He loved all the animals that he seen when he was out there. So when he came home, the first thing he did was he purchased a little blue macaw.
Yeah.
Right? And in any way, they used to have armed sentries on the walls down here, because they got to a point where it was, the grave robbing was so bad, they had no choice but to deploy kind of people onto them. So they were bored, and in the tree, he'd never seen it before. He was like, look at that board, right?
Yeah.
He was saying, look at that little board, little blue board. I've never seen a board like that before, right? He's like, I'll use it for target practice, thinking it's a toy. They shot the board, and in any way, your man put up the footage, or not the footage, in the paper. He put in the paper looking for his board. It was a very expensive board, you know, for the time. So, you know, he came and they told him, you know, we're after doing it. He said, listen, you're buying me a new board. And so basically, your man went and he bought me a new board, and the same thing happened. The same board got out the exact same way as the last board, and essentially it then moved on and went back to the graveyard. But this time he went down to the graveyard. He was like, I'm telling you now, if you have to shoot me board again, I'll have this and this, and I'll have your name. And it turned out then that the person had seen in the paper from weeks prior, when he was laying down, he had pigeons. He saw an article that this expensive board was offering a reward for its return. He looked in his pigeon coop, and there the board was sitting. So he took it away from the pigeons, because he was afraid it would try and breed with them. Yeah. And he put it in with the turkeys, and the board ended up taking such a liking to the turkeys, it stayed for a while and wouldn't move. Oh wow! So that's just a bit. It's not really a part. It's just a bit of history, a part of the, you know, the walls and stuff. Yeah. There's actually a story in here, and we will touch base on it a bit with Hurley. It's odd calling Don. If you didn't know, we're related to the HurleyFella. That is my brother-in-law. I just say brother. He's been there since before I was even born, so, and that's obviously Melissa's dad. So we have a bit of nepotism going on here, because the HurleyFella's quite well known, as you all probably know listening. And you know, we're proud of our family. So right, so another story we done, I think it was the first episode we did, was on the Banshee. If you're familiar with it, Glasnevin is actually reportedly one of the highest active places to actually see the Banshee. Yeah. One of the, because of her, she's the omen that she follows certain families. Cool. There's one of the more recent ones was 2019, and a woman saw her. She was in full white, and she was screaming beside a grave. And when she went to approach her, she just vanished into thin air. My God. That's why up here it's famous for phantom footsteps. You see people praying, and then you glance again, they're gone. But the Banshee is definitely one of the scarier Irish myths, and especially because, you know, you're in here, you're mourning, and they're seeing that. You get the
even the artist's portrayal of a banshee is
it's terrible.
They seem to have a spot on. It looks absolutely
yeah.
And why does the banshee select these certain families? Is there a certain
in certain laws it was there's select banshees, and they basically went to certain families, relatives of certain families, and they were kind of like a spirit that attached to them.
And would that be a family that were a bad family, or
it would be because she's not really doing, she's mourning them.
Okay.
So in some theories it's a relative that had passed, and it's, you know, looking into it. One more famous theory is that it was Eve, you know, Adam and Eve, and she's paying penance for getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden.
Right.
The common one though in Ireland is it's a spirit, and she crosses the souls to the other side. She kind of acts as like a ferryman.
Yeah.
But some of it she's kind of malicious, but other ones it's just she's mourning those who passed.
Right.
There's a famous story we did on the podcast, and it was a little girl. She kept hearing, or I think her grandfather passed away. She kept hearing knocking on the door. No one else could hear it but her grandmother. And the grandmother, they were all freaking out, and the grandmother said answer it, and she answered it, and it was a woman at the door crying, and the grandmother let her said close the door now.
Yeah. And
later that night her grandfather passed away then, sadly, so they think it was actually
that was part of it.
She was there to ferry him. But it's a creepy, I think we've had relatives, didn't we, that spotted it in Harold's Cross. I think my dad saw it with my uncles. They described it as terrifying, and with our relatives. But I just thought that was interesting. But I suppose it makes sense when you're looking at the history of what a banshee is to, you know, the area that you're in. Like this is the prime place to be, especially being a church. And it used to be it's mad, people used to live here, like thousands, like the Viking era. This was like a settlement. Mad. And then over time so many were dying, they just buried people here. But we'll move on now to the cholera pit. So the cholera pit, the pit is the final resting place of over 11,000 victims. 11,000 of cholera, and that was in 1832. That was a year after the graveyard opened.
Right.
So I think that would have been one of the leading factors as to why it was.
And they just kind of thrown everyone in there
because of pestilence and stuff. People are afraid of the, you know, the spread.
Were they ever named who's in that pit?
They never kept a record.
So 11,000 unnamed people in that pit.
Unnamed people. There's so basically in that spot then you hear cold spots, you know, shivers and stuff, and people get bad smells. But 11,000 people, and then the spot wasn't maintained, and then it was in 1891 James Stewart Parnell, right, who was kind of like the unsaid Irish king, they called him.
He was the people's.
He's the people's king, the people's
king,
champion. He chose to be buried here among the people in Glasnevin.
And he could have opted for a much more.
Yeah, he was minted. He would have been minted, but his fortune was spread out.
So he stood with the people, and he basically rested with the people as well.
And his grave marker, literally, it just says Parnell. It's a giant boulder. It says Parnell, and it's the circle with the cholera pit.
He's what buried you want with from a leader, isn't it?
Yeah, he's buried with the cholera, and a lot of people have been like, you know, cholera, you know, pestilence and stuff like that, sickness, illness being around it. He was a man of the people. He said, look, these people aren't named. There's no marker there for them. No. People can come and pray here for them. And that was a big thing. You got the rail put around it. Yeah. And, you know, that's what a lot of people.
And the fact that he rested himself there, and that's a message to the leaders of today. When we don't see a leader.
See that.
No,
absolutely not.
You wouldn't even give a ton down the street. But that's amazing. But Parnell.
Parnell,
And obviously named after Parnell Street.
I can't find him.
Right, we're at Michael Collins's grave. He's a revolutionary soldier and
great leader.
You know, great leader of Ireland. I think he was president, wasn't he? He was going to be president.
And instrumental in 1916, and what transpired after that.
Yeah, and famously went on to be played by Liam Neeson in the film.
And he only passed away, as I say, what's that, 7 years after? 6 years?
Yeah, he was betrayed, wasn't he? They reckon he was betrayed by De Valera. But he was sent to do a trade deal and he was captured. And
the De Valera was a bit of a snake, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he is England's second greatest enemy of all time. England have like a list of their greatest enemies.
Number one.
Number one is probably like some mad fella, but the second to be that high on the list.
Well, yeah.
To be that high, and the Irish were celebrating, you know, as
especially the results that came back to Ireland.
He freed the country, and we were saying it about his partner, Eva. She was his partner, and she
remarried.
She remarried afterwards, but she never really got over him through her kind of burial.
Yeah.
When he was buried and stuff like that, it broke her. So eventually, when she passed, her husband, I can't remember his name, something O'Driscoll, opted to have her buried as close as possible to him.
Yeah, so that was nice.
So that he could, because he knew he could never, compete
replace
him, and he obviously had a great respect for the man. So
and obviously her as well, if that's what he did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a nice touch. But yeah, it's here now, as you see. There's it's a lovely
grave, and what I liked as well is he knew he was going to be put somewhere, obviously of substantial, because how substantial he was. He's close to Daniel O'Connell. So,
and then what's written around? There's all plaques on the sides.
He had the plaques put in to commemorate all of his soldiers and the memory of the deceased officers and men of the Glasnevin. So that was like his infantry unit and stuff like that. Like his, basically who passed. And on his gravestone actually is in English. Initially it was only in Irish, and they ended up putting English on the bottom. That's why it's black instead of white. Well, look, because he was an Irish speaker. Like, he was a big advocate for that, and that's something that's coming back now with kneecap and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's
the school systems. They don't teach you how to use it. Commonplace, you know what I mean?
I remember I was on holiday years ago. We were in Kerry, and I was in the bookmakers, and these two ladies were talking in Oskelga. Yeah. And I was that's strange, but that's what in certain parts of the country it's maintained. In Kerry, in the villages in Galway. Yeah. But you won't hear much of it in Dublin.
I do think in Dublin, because Dublin was one of the stories and stuff, and I'm not a historian, but it's because we would have been one of the first ones for it to be pushed out, because we're poor.
Yeah. It'd be great to see a kind of
great to see it come back. Kneecap and stuff are bringing it back, and it is a big. There's TikTokers and stuff that are only.
But at a government level where money is,
no, it never.
Yeah, no, but that should we can stand here.
There should be something that
there should be a structure in place. Yeah, funded.
But even in the school systems, you're taught like how to recite poems and stuff like that. But you're not taught how to go in the shop and order.
In the early 90s, we used to be encouraged to go to Oskelga for the summer and the summer camps, and that's stuff, now that's gone. That should have been pushed on a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, symbolic as this part of Glasnevin is. It's
You see a lot of graves even.
You'd be very emotional thinking about it and looking about it.
Yeah.
It's just located right at the entrance.
It's literally at the entrance. Opposite, literally Daniel O'Connell's tower is feet away, about 20 feet away.
And we've seen all the commemorations of Bobby Sands and
Bobby Sands. The hunger strikers who passed away.
A few people lost at sea.
He was an MP. Bobby Sands wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tragic. You can definitely see why there'd be so many. It's surprising with all the people that passed away in unfortunate circumstances that there's not malevolence, whereas, as you say, it's mostly what people notice is it's peaceful and so we're just here,
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
It's peaceful here, it's nice, it's very well maintained.
Very interesting. It was great for having us on. Thanks Dylan and thanks Melissa. When you asked me to come on, I was a bit okay, and now that I've done the tour around and we've seen and the stories, this is a very, very interesting place to come, and I would highly recommend anyone out there coming and checking out for yourselves. You can walk around, there's no problem here at all. There's a big tower here behind us. You have to pay for a few quid to get in there. That's and you can see Dublin from height, but other than that, very emotional, very scary when we were down in the tombs there. This chill came over me. Squirrels following us around the whole graveyard, and what a good day. So thanks for having us on the thing. And
where can we find you again? Your podcast?
So my podcast. So basically, I have a podcast called Don't Threaten Us with a Good Time. It's on Spotify. Obviously, my name is TheHurleyFella. I'm on TikTok and Facebook. And as I say, again, it's great for the Stolen Brain podcast to have us on. And, keep on the journey, because there's a lot more to come from these two, Dylan and Melissa. And let's make the journey continue. And from Glasnevin, it's a goodbye from me.
Your voice said.
Your voice said.